everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Carrie Stober, and we are going to be getting started here in a few minutes. We are going to be giving away some prizes today that are pretty big. So you're going to want to be here throughout the whole event to make sure that you get a chance to win those. So we want to make sure that you're staying active in the chat. Right now, you can comment where you're watching from so we can say hi to everybody and see if you get picked for prizes. And if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, you should go over to streamlineartevents.com/Schaller. And we're going to put that up here on the screen in just a second. That is the chat where we will be pulling winners from. So that's where you're going to want to be present if you want to be eligible for a prize. So make sure you head over there, streamlineartevents.com/Schaller, and we will see you all soon. Everyone, thank you all so much for joining us today. Welcome. We are so glad you are here. My name is Carrie Stober, and I will be your co-host for today's show. I'll be bringing in Eric Rhoads, our publisher, here in just a little bit, as well as Thomas Schaller. In case you're new to Streamline, we've got a lot of things going on. Before we get to our introduction of who we are, I just want to remind you guys that you should check out streamlineartevents.com/Schaller for today's show. That is where we will be giving away prizes in the chat. So we've got a lot of those. And sorry, I'm just figuring out where I am in my script. It's been a busy day. I also want to remind everyone that if you are having any sort of technical issues or anything like that, refresh your browser. That's going to fix things about 99% of the time. And if you're still having issues, don't stress because you're going to get a replay in your email here in just a little bit. So I'm going to pick a couple of names from our chat for our first few winners. If you would type "I'm here" in the chat, and then also you're going to send an email to winner@streamlinepublishing.com. We're going to pop that email up on the screen. And I want to make sure we get you your prize today. So be sure to send us an email. And the first things I'm giving away are a few streaming copies of our newest watercolor videos. The first one is Stan Miller. This is his newest video with us called the Watercolor Techniques for Capturing Travel Memories. And this winner is going to be, let's see, you guys are going so fast in the chat, it's hard. Phil Fisher. Phil Fisher. Type "I'm here" in the chat and let us know that you're watching. Send us an email at winner@streamlinepublishing.com so I can get you a copy of Stan Miller's video. And the next one is going to be Ching Wei's newest video called Painting Nature in Watercolor. This is already a bestseller for this year. And Neil McMillan, you are the winner of Ching Wei's newest video. Congratulations. And the last one I have for this segment right here is from Richard Sneary. This is called Watercolor Mastery, Light and Shadow. And let's see, who's going to be the winner of this one? Kimberly Engel. Kimberly Engel. I wish you guys could see how fast this chat is going. It's so hard to pick names. Kimberly Engel, you have just won Richard Sneary's newest video, Watercolor Mastery. And there's one more thing that I want to give away right now. that we haven't even announced yet. We gave this away to our Realism Live attendees, and so you are the newest people to hear about this event. This is going to be Art Business Mastery with Eric Rhoads. This is a one-day event where Eric is going to talk about art marketing, how you can use marketing in your business to help you flourish in your art business. So we are going to give away 2 seats to this newest event. So let's see if I can read this chat. Karen Blevins, you are receiving a seat, or a ticket rather, to Arts Business Mastery with Eric Rhoads. And the next one is going to be, oh my goodness, stop it, Kaz Chandler. I hope I pronounced that right. Kaz Chandler and Karen Blevins, you guys are both going to Art Business Mastery with Eric Rhoads coming up in January. And we are going to drop links to each of those videos I mentioned, as well as to our Business Mastery event, so that you guys can take a look at those if you are interested. And we do have a lot more things that we're going to be giving away later today. Something for Watercolor Live, our conference coming up in January. We also have Joseph Zabukvich coming to the Plenar Convention in May. He's going to be doing a pre-convention workshop as well as a demo on our main stage. And so we're going to be giving away a ticket for that, which is over $1,600. So it's a pretty big ticket. So you guys want to make sure that you're here. Like I said, comment in the chats, stay active in the chat. That's where we're pulling names from. And we are going to be getting started here pretty soon. So as a reminder, refresh browsers if you're having any sort of technical issues. That should fix it. If you have any issues and can't watch it all, we will have a replay sent to your email after this is over. So we're going to be going through the things we talked about. Sorry, the things that we're going to be talking about today are the 10 essential tips to improve your watercolors with Thomas Schaller, and we're going to have a Q&A afterwards. So be sure to stick around at the end. That way you can ask Thomas anything. Drop those questions in the chat. We're going to keep a tally of those and try to get all of those answered at the end of today's broadcast. So our event today is sponsored by Watercolor Live. It's the world's largest online art conference, and it's going to take place over 4 days in January. And we are going to have 24 top artists who are going to be there, including Thomas Schaller. We've also got Alvaro Castignet and a lot of others, and we're going to be sharing more about that in the broadcast in just a little bit. So then I want to move on to why you're here today. 10 essential steps to creating your best watercolor paintings yet, with our special guest, Thomas W. Schaller. And a little bit about Thomas. He is an award-winning artist, an architect, author, instructor based in Los Angeles. He has authored 3 books: Architecture in Watercolor, The Art of Architectural Drawing, and in 2018, Architect of Light, Watercolor Paintings by a Master. He's produced several DVDs with various people. He has been featured in exhibitions in over 20 countries. He's in private and public collections around the world. He is a signature member of many art organizations, and he is a 2-time recipient of the Hughes Ferris Memorial Prize and President Emeritus of the American Society of Architectural Illustrators. So that's who Thomas is, and we're going to get to him in a little bit. So now I want to talk a little bit about my co-host, Eric Rhoads. And most of you probably know him. We've had thousands of new people who've signed up who might not know him. So I want to go through a little bit about who he is and what we do here at Streamline Publishing. So Eric is the founder of Streamline Publishing. It's the only artist-owned art magazine company. And over 2 decades ago, he became a plein air painter and started Plein Air Magazine, and then later Fine Art Connoisseur Magazine. And today we also now have multiple art newsletters, including Inside Art, Realism Today, Pastel Today, Fine Art Today, and Plein Air Today. And for those of you who love watercolor, we have Watercolor, American Watercolor, which is edited by Kelly Kane. In addition to all of our newsletters, Eric is also the host of our in-person events, which include the Plein Air Convention I mentioned that's going to be in Tahoe, as well as artist retreats like Fall Color Week, Paint Adirondacks, and our newest event coming up in February, which is Winter Escape. And Eric is going to be taking a group of artists to plein air paint around St. Augustine, Florida to escape the winter weather. He is also the host of our online art conferences. As I mentioned, we've got Watercolor Live coming up in January, and then we have Acrylic Live, which is our newest event coming up in March, as well as Pastel Live, Plein Air Live, and Realism Live. And you can find out more about everything that we do at streamlinepublishing.com/everything, because there are so many things that we do here because we love art and we love artists. So there's a lot of things that we provide for you guys. In addition to all of that, we also have Art School Live, which is where I just was before this, hosting for Eric. He's got a daily YouTube show. It's 5 days a week. It's called Art School Live, and he started it during the pandemic. And we have actually had over 16 million views, and people who have discovered art techniques from this show. And we've had a lot of really cool artists on the show. It's really awesome. I encourage you to check it out. It's noon Eastern time every weekday, and you can find that by going to YouTube and searching Art School Live. Eric is passionate about making art. He is a landscape artist, a portrait artist, and he's been painting for almost 3 decades, and he has worked in several galleries. If you'd like to follow him on Instagram, you can find him at Eric Rhoads, and that's Rhoads. We've got that up on the screen. He is also the author and been featured in the New York Times, LA Times, Chicago Tribune, Entrepreneur Magazine, Inc. Magazine, Success Magazine, Wall Street Journal, and over 400 newspapers, radio, and TV stations. All that to say, he's got a very good CV, right? So he knows art, he loves art, he loves artists. So here's your host, Eric Rhoads.
I'm just enjoying you doing all the hard work.
Right?
How about a round of applause? Go into the chat and say, yay, Carrie. We love Carrie.
Thank you.
I think that's great. I think you're doing a great job, Carrie. As a matter of fact, I think it's time for you to take over.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah. I think I'll go fly fishing or something. No, I'm not going to stop. Sorry. Maybe someday. Hey, everybody. Welcome. And thank you for attending today. We're excited about having Thomas W. Schaller here. Yeah, he's a good friend and he's a brilliant artist, and we're going to learn a lot from him. And I want to just ask you guys to go into the comments, and I really like you to be interactive, so I can't say raise your hand because I can't see your hand, but I can say raise your hand by going into the comments. So if I ask you to comment on something, you'll know why. Tell me right now where you're watching from. We have thousands of people watching. And people have signed up from literally all over the world, which is really cool. So it's really cool to see where you're watching from. So go in there now and tell us. And welcome to 10 essential steps to creating your best watercolor paintings yet. Now, every time we do one of these special broadcasts, our goal is to over deliver. So I hope we do it today. That's our goal. And of course, Thomas always over delivers, so it's going to be good. But I hope that you will walk away with just one thing that you didn't know, or one thing that you needed to have reinforced. Because if there's anything that I've learned in my decades as an artist and as an art publisher, one tiny realization can make all the difference in the world. That happened to me last week on Realism Live. There's one thing I'd never seen before, and it was like the light went off, boom, and it just really helped me so much. So one little thing can make all the difference in the world in your art. And hopefully today you won't have just one thing, but you'll have a lot of different things. So listen carefully. Today is monumental for a couple of reasons. First, Thomas W. Schaller. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, right? He's the best of the best. Secondly, you, I think, are about to be amazed at his advice, which I think could change the way that you paint. He's got 10 truths for you. We ask him to put together essential truths to help you. These truths are going to help you save you moments of frustration, doubt, discouragement that you might feel from time to time. And if you're struggling right now, I want you to know that being here today says a lot about you. It really does. So if you're serious about creating art, then you're going to show up for something like this, right? And you are serious, and that's authentic and it's true to you. So it shows that you're sick and tired of pouring in countless hours to improve, only to be stuck in the same old routine, creating the same old art and wondering if you're going to be as good as you hope. I went through that for years. I just made all the mistakes you could possibly make. Now, Carrie probably mentioned my background. I know she did, actually. And you know my story if you've been around me for a while. But if you're new, there's just a couple of things I want to point out. There was a time when I wanted to learn to paint so badly, but I couldn't even draw a stick figure, and I had zero confidence. I had really, really horrible experiences with art teachers. They were well-meaning people, but they really, really didn't help me a lot. And I quit several times, and I gave up several times, and I threw away all my art supplies several times, or I put them in the basement. And eventually I discovered somebody who really knew the right way to teach. And instead of telling me, like one instructor did, Eric, you really shouldn't be doing this, you just don't have what it takes, the other guy got me engaged and pulled me in and showed me what I needed to do and how to embrace it and how to learn it. And that's what I want for you. So it feels really gratifying to me when I hear of thousands and thousands of people who write us and say, hey, I didn't believe I could paint, but now I'm painting. Or I painted a little, or I was an artist a little when I was in high school, but then my parents like discouraged me becoming an artist and I had to take on another job and now I'm back to it. There's a lot of people like that. If that's you, go into the comments. I'd be curious to see that. So our goal here today, and my goal always, is to help you keep you moving forward in your journey and help you avoid the pain and frustration. Now, you got to have pain, you got to have frustration, and you got to embrace that. But there are better ways to learn. I was recording a podcast with someone yesterday, and he talked about you don't have to experience the pain. You have to be smart about it and be smart about the ways you learn and the tools you use to learn. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I was always driven by the idea that we could get better and that there's a better way to learn. And I have devoted my life, the last 20 or so years, to trying to help people learn. And we've taught, I think, over 16 million people how to learn. That's pretty cool. So part of the reason we're here today is because droves of people are always asking me about, how do I get my creativity flowing again? It's suddenly vanished, or did my inspiration dried up, or maybe if you're not feeling it, you're not feeling inspired, it's going to reflect in your paintings. So there is a harsh reality, though. Most of the thousands of people watching today could be brilliant painters, but probably never will be, because they don't understand how to break out of the rut, how to push themselves to a higher level. And we're here to help you break out of the rut and push you. And that's our goal. So anybody want to break out of a rut? Anybody stuck? Go into the comments and say so. So no matter what we tell you today, some of you are still going to ignore what we're going to tell you, even though it's proven to work. So here's a little secret. You have to want it. You got to be really passionate about wanting to get better, wanting to get to the next step, driving yourself. I know some of the top artists in the world, and these people are always driving themselves. That, they don't want to just be stuck where they are. Even the very, very best are like, how can I get better? How can I push myself? How can I get out of my ruts? So I think there's a better way for you. I know there's a better way for me. So if you're sick and tired of being in a rut, say so in the comments. Now, if you're one of these people who will never get to where you want to be, please know it's not your fault. It's our society's fault, because our society has this myth that artists are born great, right? We believe that, you wake up one day and you pick up a pencil and you can draw beautifully. I'm sure there are savants who can do that, but most of the artists I know never did that. They had to learn, and it was a process. You see, it's learning the technique, the process. It's like following a recipe, right? So there is an old adage, we've all heard it. I use it all the time. It's practice makes perfect. And it's a big fat lie, right? Why? Because practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanence. Perfect practice makes perfect. So if you study under the right artists at the right time, and then you practice what they've taught you and you do it the way they've done it, and you keep doing it over and over again, that's called chunk learning. You do it over and again till they get it you get it to the point where you have got it. That's perfect practice. So we're going to show you how to overcome some of your frustrations and take yourself as far as you want to go today. Your life can look a lot different than it does now. I mean, what would your dream scenario be as an artist? Put it in the comments right now. I know for me, my dream scenario is I wanted to travel the world. I would love to one day have my art in a museum. I think that'd be pretty cool. I used to want to have my art in art galleries. Now I'm in 3 of them and about to go in 2 more. I always dreamed that I wouldn't have any financial problems, that I wouldn't have to figure out how to make ends meet. And I also wanted to get my respect. I wanted respect from my peers. I wanted respect from other good artists. I wanted unsolicited compliments. So if any of those things have meaning to you, maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want something different. But and of course we all kind of, I think we're sitting around painting and going, maybe one day I'll be a part of art history. People will remember my name. Wouldn't that be cool? Okay. So we're going to help you overcome your issues today. Thomas is here to help you reach your goals. We're going to help you live the life that you dreamed of. So the next hour looks like this. I'm going to bring on my guest. He's won every imaginable award you can think of. He's considered one of the top artists in the world. I would say probably the top artist in America when it comes to watercolor. And I know he's going to be blushing, but we're going to do that. And then I would suggest you avoid other distractions. Don't surf the web. Don't check your email. Take some notes. We are going to send you a replay of the broadcast in case, and we'll send you some of the links we talk about, some of the offers that we give you, things like that. So sound like a plan? Remember, at the end, I'm giving away a big prize. I'm giving away a full ticket to the plein air convention, plus the pre-convention workshop with Joseph Subukvich from Australia. He's also one of the best in the world, and you're going to get a chance to go to that. So you want to hang in there for that. Now I'd like to introduce our guest today. It is Thomas Schaller. You've heard his bio. He is a superstar. Tom, welcome back.
Hi, Eric. Thanks so
Are you
much.
blushing? Are you blushing yet?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed, but thank you for that beautiful intro. You know, more important than that is all you said about your advice to aspiring painters, to all of us, resonated so much in your intro. So thank you for that.
Well, you know, you and I have both experienced this. We've had people who've studied around us or with us who are have had some really bad experiences. As you know, there are a lot of great artists who are not great teachers.
Yes.
And there are a lot of great artists who are great teachers, but oftentimes we get stuck with the wrong ones. We had a situation one time where we had an artist come to one of our events, and he was doing critiques, and he was really, really being, almost mean and to people. And I'm sure he intended well, but like everybody contacted me, they were mortified, they were depressed. We have to be encouraging. We have to lift people up. We have to let them know there's a path, and we have to show them that path.
Yeah, I've come to love teaching over the last few years, but briefly put, my style of teaching is completely opposite from the way I was taught. My philosophy is that we're all in this together. We're all learning. We never reach that point where we know everything, and it's an ongoing process. So I think there's a way to lift people up without knocking them down at the same time. We all learn a little differently, and some people actually like that kind of tough, insulting teaching style, but that ain't me. I don't think that's not the way I learn, and I don't believe it's the way most of us learn.
I watched a meltdown one day, Tom.
Oh, I've seen.
I was in this class, and the instructor was really good, and he said to us all up front, "Listen, I'm going to give you a project, and I expect you to do it, and I expect you to do it as close to perfectly as you can." He said, "And I'm going to give you a hard time if you don't." But he told us up front, so we were kind of ready for it. And so, and he said, if we're painting a tree, I'm counting the leaves, which I thought was a little intense. And so he comes up to this woman and he says, "Madam, you've completely not got this right. This is in the wrong place, and this is in the wrong place." And he just started and he was nice about it, but he just kind of started going through his list of all the things that were wrong. And she freaked out. She started screaming. She started crying, and then she stormed out. She never came back. That should never happen.
That should never happen. I genuinely think all of us somewhere inside have all the tools, the capabilities we need to be whatever kind of artist we want to be. I think we spend a lot of time studying papers and materials and brushes and paint, as we should. It's great fun and it's not unimportant, but it's also kind of missing the point. I think that's all looking outward. And I think if we spend at least that much time looking inward at why we want to paint in the first place, that's when we really start to make great progress.
Yeah.
I see this in my classes all the time. When we start to get more in touch with not just how we paint, but why we want to do it in the first place, that's when we take great strides forward. So that's what I try to help people do as much as I can.
What do you do to push yourself? What do you do do you ever feel you get to the point where like been there, done that, I want to move to the next level?
Sure, I do, but I take my own medicine. I do believe that I have within me the capacity to be a better artist than I am today, and then a better artist than I'm going to be tomorrow. So I just, it sounds silly to say just one foot in front of another, but I never run out of things to paint. I think that's just something people say when they're unnecessarily afraid to just sit down and do the work. I just show up at the studio and get busy and keep looking inward, digging deeper and deeper, and things reveal themselves very organically, very naturally. It's all
I
there.
get the impression you experiment a lot.
I experiment a lot. Some of it looks incremental. Some of it looks bigger to the outside. But yeah, of course, I'm never happy with my own work, especially. But I think that's one of the things I put on my list, developing a way to self-critique, to love yourself, to encourage yourself, but to critique yourself in a positive way rather than kicking yourself or beating up on yourself, which does zero good. So
Yeah,
I do that to
your self-talk means everything.
it's everything because we are only the stories we tell ourselves that we are. No matter what anybody else says, we have the ability to react or not to react to what people say, both positive or negative. So yeah, it all comes down to how we define ourselves, what we tell ourselves, what we expect of ourselves, and yeah, we're in charge.
Yeah, well, I think that's really an important point. There's a lot of science to support all of that now. A lot of new science that has validated the idea that that negative thoughts actually change your physiology and make you sick,
They
and
do.
that positive thoughts actually manifest things happening. So it's
I
pretty
couldn't.
cool to see.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So we have a list of 10 items. Why don't we bring up the first item, the slide for the first item, and that is embrace the fluidity of the medium. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's watercolor. So water is in the name. In all of my years of teaching, not to be glib, but I do think it's true. Most painters are afraid of two things more than anything else, and that's water and color. And I just encourage people to use a lot of each. Dump it on, see what happens. Play around with the gravity of the board, tilt your painting up, raise your easel, move it around, play around with the fluidity. Honestly, there's a million reasons watercolor is so fantastic and satisfying and magic as a medium, but no one thing more so than the fluidity.
I
It,
think I think to that point, Thomas, for those people who might be uh, pastel painters or oil painters or gouache painters, gouache can act like watercolor when you really thin it down. But I think the hardest part is overcoming this sense of control.
oh, without doubt, I think we all want to do good work, but I think we mistakenly think sometimes that means mastering the technique. You can't do it. And I think it's just getting to that point with watercolor that not giving up, but just accepting the fact that the medium to some degree is always going to be in control. So I think of working in watercolor as a collaboration between you, your skill, your inspiration, and the properties of the medium itself. So when you work in tandem together as a team, amazing things can happen. But if you try too hard to control it and make it do what you think it ought to, you are in trouble. So just
Yeah, so things start getting look contrived.
yeah, they get tight, contrived, they look too pre-planned. Yeah, the magic of watercolor, I think, is well, my work is all based in contrast, which means a little of this, a little of that. I think my best watercolors are those where I have a plan, there's a bit of control, but then there's a lot of extemporaneous improvisation, mistakes that turned out to be good things happening.
Bob Ross would call them happy accidents.
Happy little accidents. He's not wrong. But I think skill comes in recognizing when they happen and just being okay with that and letting them be, rather than freaking out and trying to fix them or change them too much. Yeah. So.
All right. Terrific. Let's bring up
Letting-
the next slide.
Yeah.
Number 2, don't try to master watercolor. It's always a collaboration between the artist and the medium. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's sort of what I was just talking about, but well, any medium, I'm sure this is true, but it has its own unique properties. And I think if we go into them with too much of a preconceived notion of what our painting is going to look like, or the feeling it's going to have, we're shackling ourselves a little bit. And that's a bit of a mistake. I think being open, just taking a deep breath and being open to allowing things to happen. And as I said a moment ago, being able to recognize in the moment when something you didn't plan happens that looks good, and being able to work with it, it can often be the best part of the finished painting. So in that way, you're a collaborator with the medium. You're not mastering it. You're not putting it in charge of you, but you're not making it one thing or the other isn't in charge. It is a genuine collaboration. So I feel like the medium of watercolor is another painter with whom I'm working and having this hopefully pleasant little argument that at the end of it will result in a good painting.
Speaking of letting the medium do it, I want everybody to look at that oil painting behind you. I was studying it while you were talking, and it's just light. There are no lines. I mean, the lines are whatever the background showing through. It's one of the most interesting oils. It looks like an oil to me that I've seen. Maybe it's not, but and that is using the medium in a different way, not necessarily doing it in a contrived way. So it kind of supports what you were saying. Take a look at that.
It does. That is an acrylic. It's one of mine. It's my dirty little secret. I do a lot of these acrylics, big, larger ones on canvas, just to study values, composition, and different ideas.
It's fantastic.
They're, for me, very liberating, and I have no ambitions. I don't try to sell them. I don't try to show them. I just do them because they're great fun, and I learn a lot. I teach myself in that way.
Well, there you go, pushing yourself out of your box. That's fantastic. Okay, next slide. Resist the urge to compare yourself to others. Watercolor expresses your own creative DNA, never anyone else's. That's a great thing. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I probably feel stronger about this than anything else on my list, in a sense. I think it's natural when we start out, or even when we're further down the road. You know, we're all, so much art is accessible to us online, in galleries, magazines. That's good. It's great. But if you don't stop yourself, it's very easy to veer into that land of self-criticism that doesn't do any good by saying, oh, look what she did, or look what he just did, or this person got into this show and I didn't, or this guy is a much better painter than I'm ever going to be. No single thing is a bigger waste of your time than that. You will never paint like them. I guess if I can be very personal about this, I studied many years ago with the great Joseph Zbukvik, and without even meaning to, for a year after my first class with him, every painting I did, I compared it to Joseph's and thought, he's better than I am. He always will be. I can't paint the way he does. But something in that unhealthy process clicked in my brain, and I said, yeah, you can't paint like him. You shouldn't want to, and you never will. But you know what? He can never paint like you. And from that germ of an idea sort of grew my philosophy of painting.
Well, it gives you a great amount of power, doesn't it, to realize that it's all about being yourself.
Yeah, it just means you accept your own creativity, your own agency. You are in charge of what you produce. And once you take charge of it and define it as such, I don't know, like leaves of the book begin to turn and you see that you have more power, more creative ability than maybe you thought you did. So all those times we spend feeling bad about ourselves are just, I get it, but it is really, really wasted energy.
So I call it shoulding on yourself.
That's so
You
good.
know, shoulding, meaning I should do what this person does, or I should do what that person does. I should be better at this. I should, and it's just all negativity.
It's all negativity and it's pointless. I remember many years ago, I went to see the AWS show, which I aspired to get into at the time. And there was an award-winning piece of a bicycle. And then the next year, the same show, the next year, there were probably 20 paintings of bicycles. So the word sort of subliminally got out there that if you want to be in the AWS show, you'd better paint a bicycle. Well, that's the wrong message. Definitely the wrong message.
Well, what's happening right now is that there are a lot of artists who are chasing the money. And there's nothing wrong with trying to make a living and chasing money. I'm not suggesting that, but because of the big money that's happening in the Western world, you have a lot of people who live in non-Western places that are painting cowboys and Native Americans and horses and things like that, and they're not living it. And I think people can tell. I think that there is a sense of, well, I was talking to John Coleman one day, the great sculptor and painter, and he said, I can tell, I know this stuff so well that if you use the wrong feather or the wrong headdress or the wrong blanket, if you put a blanket from one tribe to the next tribe, he said, I know it and my collectors know it. And he said, you've got to live this stuff. He said, you don't put on a cowboy hat once a year for the reception. This is something that you just, is part of you. And I think that we need to be authentic. I think that's such an important part of all this.
I think that's exactly what I'm trying to say too, is when I stopped comparing myself to other painters to what I thought they did well or their success, my work slowly started to become more authentic, more things I felt, things I was attached to. Early on, Carrie said that I was based in Los Angeles. She's not wrong, I was, but a couple of years ago, I made the choice to move back to New York City, where I am now and where I used to live many years ago. And that's another story, but it was a very big deal to me because my paintings now change so much because there's so much attached to the environment where I live. They're much more, whether they're good or bad, they're more authentic, they're more me, they're more subjects that I care about. And yeah, I'm not trying to be anybody else or to paint like anybody else does. And that is the biggest thing you can do. Wherever you are, inhabit that space emotionally, physically, whatever it takes to paint paintings that express something about you and no one else. And you cannot go wrong.
It takes a lot of courage to uproot yourself because you realize you're not where you really want to be. I mean, you were comfortable, you had a great place, and I'm sure that it was a lot of thought that went into that decision, but it helped you be where you want to be. I love certain areas of the country I probably should move to just because those are the things I prefer to paint.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I'm very aware of the issues, the problems of New York City, but it was just my dream since a child to grow up, become an artist, and live in New York City. And I love it here very, very much, despite all the issues. And yeah, it made all the difference in not only what I paint, but how I paint and how I feel about it, and the relationship I have to my paintings. It was a very, very difficult thing to do, but the absolute right thing for me. And it doesn't mean it should be for you. That's the whole point. It's not. I get it, and that's fine. That's good.
Let's bring up our next slide. Learn to be positive in your self-critiques. You can improve and be honest without having to beat up on yourself. We touched on that a little bit, but let's talk about it a little bit more.
We did. That's a very big deal for me, and something as all of these topics are, they're a work in progress. I think I speak for most of us when I say I am my own harshest critic. I think we should be. I think we'll talk a bit later about this, but social media is a good thing and a bad thing. But the comments we all get online where people are telling us we're masters and we're geniuses and we're great, be very skeptical of that. Too much patting yourself on the back, you'll end up with a sore arm. But
Joe Rogan said something the other day that I thought was really interesting. He said, never read the comments.
he's so right. I heard him.
And I think he's right about that, because you know, the negative comments, just they'll throw you for a loop. The positive comments will blow up your head.
Yeah, I heard him say that, and I agree 1,000%. I'm guilty of reading a lot of my comments because I really want to have a one-on-one interaction with people. But yeah, you've got to develop a way of hearing them without feeling them too much.
Of course, he's getting 5 million comments. He can't possibly read them anyway.
No, and I'm sure he's getting comments that are probably a little more volatile than I tend to get. But in any case, he's not wrong. That said, I think there's a way to look at your own work objectively as much as you can. Try to give yourself credit for the things that you might have accomplished that work, but also to be very honest about those parts, not just of that painting, but of your work in general that you think needs improvement or that you would like to work on. And I don't find that an ugly, sad thing. It's inspirational. It makes me want to get up and get back to work the next day. I can't wait to get back to the easel the next day and see if I can do a little better than I did today.
What do you do to trick yourself, trick your brain so that you can see things differently? I have a hard time if I'm painting. I'm so close to what I'm painting that sometimes I can't see my mistakes.
Yeah.
What do you do to help yourself see them?
That's such a good point. There are physical things you can do. Look at your work in a mirror so you see it backward. Just if you don't think about it too hard and just look very quickly in a mirror at your work backward, you can often pick out instantaneously problems in value shifts, composition, brushwork, etc., that are little things that you can, or big things that you can work on and improve. The thing I tend to do, because I have put such value in values, is I take a quick cell phone photograph of my paintings and I swipe out all the color and I just study it in black and white screen images, or I'll put it out of focus so that I can see the shapes. Painting is really all about shapes of value, compositionally, and a good, compelling value design for me is everything. So if that's not working, nothing is working.
I like to have a friend or two that really close friends that I know will tell me the truth, that are good artists. I don't want to get critiqued by somebody who's not as good, although they oftentimes see things.
They do.
But, my wife will even walk into the studio and say, that perspective is all wrong. She doesn't know anything about this stuff, but she can see it instantly. And I'm like, she walked in the other day and she said, that house is too small compared to that tree. I didn't even notice it. And then after that, it haunted me. So I like to snap a shot once in a while and send it to a buddy and say, hey, are you seeing anything I'm not seeing? You ever do that?
I do that. I have a very close circle of good friends who are also good painters. And we've made a pact to be honest, but respectful, and it works. So, yeah, I think that's very helpful for me because, like you say, I'll look back at old paintings and I'm shocked. I can see things today that are obviously wrong about this painting that's 5 or 8 years old that I just did not see at the time. So, yeah, having an objective set of eyes is a very good thing, and I would encourage people to cultivate those friendships.
There's a photographer by the name of Fred Picker, who was direct study under Ansel Adams, and his work is in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I studied with him for a couple weeks one time, workshop, and um, he said, I shoot all my pictures, I develop the film, and then I don't print them for a whole year. And I
Wow.
said, why do you do that? He says, because I don't see them the same way because I'm too close to them. He said, or if I do print them, I don't put them out there for a year because I let them sit, I turn them over, and then I look at them a year later. Then I can see the flaws and see what I need to change. And I
Wow.
think that happens when we put our work aside, sometimes just even for a month or two, especially if it's a big piece or an important piece. Sometimes I'll set it aside or if I go to, my other house and then I come back, I see it with fresh eyes. It makes a big difference.
That's smart. I think, yeah, there's a very big gulf perception between what we look at and what we're able to see. So whatever we can do to enhance our ability to objectively see something is worth our time.
Absolutely. Okay, we got another slide. What is it? Keep social media in perspective.
Oh yeah, I have a huge problem with social media because, as I said a moment ago, uh, I owe social media pretty much everything. When I was coming up, I'm an intrinsically introspective, quiet, shy person. So social media was the way I got my work out there. It really started me. So I feel like I owe people who follow me and who want to interact with me. I owe them some of my time at least. But the whole point is what we were saying earlier. Comments you get online, yeah, put them in perspective. I immediately subconsciously delete all the super positive ones and all the vitriolic negative ones. I just don't pay attention to those. I try to just answer legitimate questions people have and trying to follow Joe Rogan's advice in this regard. Don't read the comments too closely.
Well, I think that there's some people who react negatively to someone who's successful. You were brilliant, you're very successful, and I think some people have a hard time just patting somebody on the back for that. They don't know about the decades of struggle that you went through and the hard times and the misery, not only learning to paint, but the things that develop who you are in your life. And it's real easy for somebody to come in and there be, really mean or ultra critical. Um, but they haven't been in your shoes. So it's really important to ignore that.
It is, and
Don't take it too seriously.
I should say, of all the billions of comments I get, a very, very small fraction of them are negative at all. It is interesting, and I think telling that I don't think it's just me, but the negative ones are the ones that tend to stick with us more than the positive ones.
Yeah.
So I think it's worthwhile asking ourselves why that is, and to see if we can change our perception. I really believe, you can't stop people from thinking or saying whatever they are going to, and they have the right. They have the right to say whatever they want, but you have the right to not let it affect you or not react. So
Well, when you're a nice person, it's hard not to care.
yeah, it is, but it is just words, and it's not that important. It's no matter what they say, it doesn't affect the work, nor should it. So yes, just keeping all that in perspective is important. I still put a great deal of stock in social media and what it can do for you and the doors and windows that it can open. So
Okay, what do we have next? Try to avoid painting for the jury. Paint what you like, what you feel, what resonates most with you. No one has the answer except you about what you should paint. All right.
Yeah, we touched on that a little while ago, but just to flesh that answer out, I do think I see aspiring painters striving to figure out what's an acceptable subject for me to paint, what's more likely to get accepted in a show, what's going to do me the best. I can say from personal experience that trying to please a juror or a jury is a road to failure. The paintings that are going to do best, both in terms of getting accepted into juried shows, to getting loads of nice comments online if you want that, or to selling if you want that, are the paintings that you feel attached to. Yes, just because you paint in watercolor does not mean that you're required to paint sailboats and sunsets only. Nothing wrong with doing that, but there are no limits on the subject matter that you can paint. They don't all have to be things you look at either. I urge my classes, my students, to paint not what you look at, but what you see. And by that, I mean, try to paint your experiences of the world, not
How do
just,
you do that? How do you get emotion into a painting?
yeah, it's easy to say, trickier to do. I think we all have the ability, which doesn't really help much, but if you feel a certain way about a painting, you can stop for a second, engage how emotional you feel. How do you translate that into a painting? A wider range of values, the choice of colors that you might use. If you're feeling nostalgic or sentimental or quiet, you're going to use a narrower value range, softer colors, less chroma, less saturation. If you're feeling angry or loud or exuberant, you're probably going to reach for reds and oranges and yellows and a very wide value range. And that's just one example. It also comes with the attack on the paper, with how you manipulate your brush strokes, the kind of sketch you might do, the composition of shapes, the energies they have within the overall composition. There are a million ways, but they're all very easily accessible if you just allow your emotional state to take over in a creative way.
I want to touch on that too. You know, I mentioned Fred Picker earlier. He said something else that resonated with me. We had 2 weeks, and the first week, all we did was technology, right? How to set the lenses, how to get the light right, and over and over and over again. And I went up to him. I said, "When are we going to go take some pictures and be creative?" And he said, "You can't be creative until you can do the technology in your sleep." And
Mm.
I said, What does that mean?" And he said, "Well, you have to be able to make it your second nature." And I think the same is true for painting. You need to study so you learn how to do anything possible. And so, any artist who can draw any subject or can draw well, whether it's a landscape or a human figure or a portrait or any subject, you need to be able to do that well to the point where you don't have to think about it. And how do I get the effect that I want so I don't have to think about it? And that way, I would imagine you still have to think, but you're not, you know your keyboard, your colors are always in this place, and exactly how to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And I think getting to that point really makes a big difference.
Yeah, I'm a little resistant to agree completely with that, but I do. I think
Oh,
we need.
good. Well, we can disagree.
I don't disagree. I think you need to have a knowledge of what you're capable of and a second nature to knowing this brush can do this kind of mark, this color may have this kind of emotional response. What the only thing I'm not disagreeing, the only thing I'm pushing back on is that I think students especially feel like they have to have a much greater depth of experience to be able to paint at all than I think maybe they do. I think you're able to, with basic knowledge, you're able to do much more than you think you're able to do if you simply trust where you are when you are there.
It's a
Yeah,
really great point.
we all need to get better. We can all practice. I think the one thing people can do to do themselves a favor is just grab a sketchbook and a pencil and make it your best friend. Just make the act of translating your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions in a two-dimensional, nonverbal, visual way in a sketchbook second nature. It's the best possible thing you can do. So you don't have to be great at drawing, but you have to be great at being able to think, I can express myself two-dimensionally. Um, that's the best way in for me, and I think for many of us,
So do you always have a sketchbook with you?
without without exception. I've got one right now. I'm doodling away as we're talking.
Are you doing my portrait?
I am. It's going to be stunning.
Well, yeah. Yeah, consider the subject matter.
Now you look
Well,
good.
okay, what's our next one?
Yeah.
Don't take too much advice.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I know that sounds also a little glib, but I'm serious. I think we can become guilty of becoming, and I shouldn't say this or I'll cut into my revenue, but we can become workshop junkies and taking too many classes, too many different classes from too many different instructors can throw us into a state of confusion and we have too much input. And at some point, you have to strip all that away and go, all right, that was great. They know what they're talking about. But ultimately, I'm the one that has to put that brush on paper, or I'm the one that has to decide what I'm going to paint and how I'm going to paint it. So, really, all I mean by that comment is listen to whoever you admire. You should. But at the end of the day, you have to listen to yourself more than you have to listen to them.
Well, that's great advice. You know, when um, I studied under two different artists for 2 years simultaneously, maybe longer. One of them was Camille Preswatic, may she
Oh,
rest in peace.
yeah.
And, you know, she had us painting colored blocks and we were painting, seeing color differently and we were painting loosely. Then I studied under Charles H. White, who was very, very tight and very, you know, brilliant draftsman, and everything we painted was tight and using the colors we saw in nature. And they couldn't have been more polar opposite. And I made it was a huge mistake for me to do both at one time because I became schizophrenic. You know, I couldn't figure out who I was trying to be. And I think it's nice to find someone that you admire their work and and stick with them for a while. I studied with Joseph McGurl, and McGurl sensed that I had this schizophrenia, and he said, "Listen, here's what I want you to do." He says, "I don't want you to study under anybody else for a while." He said, "I don't want you to change your palette for a while." He said, Just stick with it for 2 years. Just, you don't have to come back to me, but just stick with this and practice this for 2 years. Don't change your colors out." And now, you know, several years later, I'm still using the same colors. Once in a while I add something, but uh, it, I think it helped me. And once started doing that, all of a sudden I started getting unsolicited compliments, like things were improving because, you know, as you can imagine, Thomas, you've been here at the world famous artist cabin. You've shot videos with us. And I used to go to every video shoot. I'd go in there and sit there and watch them and direct them. And then I'd come home and I'd add their colors to my palette. And then, you know, I'm painting like 30 different people a year. And it's too much. I think, you know, you want to kind of find something that is in a range, stick with that range.
Yeah, that I agree with completely. At some point, something fits and something doesn't. And I guess what I'm really saying is, I think we know more about our artistic impulses and our creative path than sometimes we realize we do. And if we just trust our own instincts, we start to hear that internal artistic voice talking to us, do this, don't do that. Listen to that voice as much as you listen to mine or anybody else. Uh, there are people that know much more than I do. And yeah, especially when I was learning, it did me a great deal of good to listen to them. But at some point, you have to take off those training wheels and make your own mistakes too.
That's a great analogy. And I think what you said was really good. Trust your own instincts. You've got to get to the point where I think, you know, workshops and videos and you know, we both do them. But I think to some extent they can become crutches. You know, if we keep doing all this stuff, maybe we don't have to commit.
That's
And sometimes it's time to just put the brushes on the canvas and start committing.
Yeah, I think we can spend a lot of time spinning our wheels thinking, well, if I just take this class or read this book or buy this brush or those colors, then maybe I'll be ready to enter this show or that show. Maybe that's true, but maybe it's time to just go ahead and enter that show or go ahead and put your work out there and just see what happens.
I wanted to ask you about that. This is a little sidebar, but um, I see a lot of the entries for the plein air salon, and I get involved in judging at the end of the year. I also am a judge for the Art Renewal Center and for many other things. And I see that you're entering competitions. You're one of the most famous artists in America, in the world. You're making a great living. You're well accomplished. You're selling out workshops. Why on earth are you still entering art competitions?
They feed me.
What do you mean?
I'm competitive, obviously, but not, I mean, this again sounds glib, but it's true. I'm not so much competitive with other painters as I am with myself.
Ah,
I When I get a call for entries, I mean, I don't enter as many as I used to, but some big shows and some competitions that are mixed media, that aren't just in the watercolor world, I think are very helpful for me to put my work up against others that do something very different than I do. And it pushes me to paint in ways that I didn't know I was capable, but very often I'm wrong. I am capable. I can do that. And yeah, I like it.
Camille Preswatic told me before she died, she won the plein air salon competition at the plein air convention last year. And she said, I've entered every competition every month for 13 years. And I said, why did you do that? I mean, same situation, you're successful. She said, it's the best PR I can possibly get. She said, if I win any category, I can talk about it. I can put it on social media. If I win the grand prize, it's great PR for a career. It will take me to a next step. And she said, that's why I enter and I keep entering. And she said something else that I thought was really articulate. She said, when you start entering art competitions, it changes something in your brain. You suddenly realize you're being judged, you're competing with other artists, and as a result, you will try harder because the minute you're about to pull something up and hit that enter button, you go, wait a minute, something needs to be fixed here, and so you push yourself. And the Adams at the California Art Club have said, the best thing the California Art Club ever did was starting the Gold Medal Awards because it elevated the overall club. They pushed themselves and they kept pushing themselves up to win the awards, and people got better and better. So I think these competitions really play an important role in that.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, it does. It pushes you to try, like I said, to try things you didn't know if you were capable of, maybe working at a larger scale, or maybe something a little bit beyond your grasp. Competitions, in theory, you don't need them. You should be able to push yourself in that way, but they're a built-in impetus. And like Camille said, they're phenomenal PR. If you if you win an award, great. But even if you just get in these big shows that you didn't know you were capable of competing, that's a great.
Well, I judged a show for the California Art Club this week, and I just did the jurying. First, did the jurying, and there were out of several hundred, there were only maybe 50 that were juried in or something, and so that's a big deal. And I saw people posting that they were excited that they were even juried into the show. So that's a publicity opportunity. Certainly was worth the $12 or $15 or whatever it cost to enter. They got juried in. Now it makes them look better to the people who are following them. I think that's valuable.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got a couple more. I want to get through these, and then I want to remind people we're going to give away a ticket to the plein air convention, and including the pre-convention workshop with Joseph Sabukvich. And so you want to hang around for that. We've got some other prizes too. So number 8 is paint what you see, not just what you look at. Tell me about that.
Yeah, a little bit. We touched on this this whole session, but I think there is a massive gap between observation, just physical observation, and how we feel about what we look at. We all have just a little bit of time and how we choose to spend it. There's something in us as visual people that makes us want to get up and go paint something, as opposed to lying on the couch and watching Netflix or whatever you would do otherwise. In that act of wanting to go paint, you're starting to see. And by that, I mean, you're starting to filter all the visual information of the world into an expressive, um, in an expressive way. So when we do this exercise, a couple of painter friends and I will set up our palettes often if we're plein air painting, paint the same subject. It's quite amazing what one person will focus on and what another will focus on. That's seeing versus looking. We're all looking at the same thing, but we all prioritize what we think will make a good painting in either a slightly or a dramatically different way. And I think that's where the art lives, how we interpret the world around us or within us and what we choose to express. How we do it, the materials we use are interesting, but that is the key right there. What do you choose to paint and why is everything.
And you know, there's some great learning experiences that come from what you just described. If and when you ever come up to the my painting event in the Adirondacks, there's about 100 of us, and we all put our paintings out at the end of every day, and we leave them out all week. We're all painting in the same locations together,
I know.
and when you see 100 different interpretations of that one spot, and not anybody does the same two things, you know, everybody's got their own interpretation, and then you're looking and you're going, I never thought of that. You know, some people will crop in something, some people will go broad, some people will pick out a tree. And it just is so enlightening to see. That's why it's nice to be part of an artist community. And that's cool that you do that with your friends.
Yeah,
Okay. Number 9 is don't wait for inspiration or the mood to strike, just get to work.
yeah. I'm Midwestern and from German heritage, maybe, but I put a lot of stock in just getting to work.
Yeah.
And I don't mean sweating and being miserable. I find this the most joyous work I could possibly be doing. I feel privileged and blessed every day. But the great American painter Chuck Close wrote, and it really stuck with me. He said, inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just get to work. And that always resonated. I think it means don't whine about not having something to paint or knowing what you're doing or being in a creative block. I don't want to say it's nonsense, but I can say those are self-imposed obstacles that are easier to knock over often than we like to think. If you just go to your workplace, to your studio, your easel, whatever it is, and if you don't know what to do, just grab a pencil and a sketchbook and start doodling, or a paintbrush and an old piece of paper, and just start. Something will happen without any exception. It always does. And something probably pretty unexpected. Yeah, it might be rubbish, but it might not be. It's the joy and the practice of just literally doing the work that, to me, it's everything. Painting isn't just something we do, it's who we are, it's how we live our lives. So when we choose to just stop and grind those wheels to a halt, I don't know, that's on us. We
Yeah, I
have
think. Oh,
just
go
as much ability to keep moving as to not.
You know, that's so important. I just last night I went into my studio. I was kind of tired and I was kind of a grumpy mood, and I just wanted to get out of the house and get away from the news. And So I went into my studio and I just sat there in my chair, and then I picked up my sketchbook and I started playing around, and I wasn't feeling it. And then next thing you know, I came up with a concept. Next thing you know, I got a panel out and I painted it.
Cool.
And it's like, wow, and that just pulled me completely out of that funk. And so I think that's a really great thing.
I
What I'm going
think,
to do, Thomas, if you're willing, I'm going to just not go to number 10 yet, because number 10 is the biggest and most important of them all. And
uh-oh.
I want to just stop and tell people a couple of things. Would that be okay?
Yeah, of course.
All right. So go get a glass of water or something, and,
Yeah.
and I'll be back in a minute. And but what I want to do is ask you guys to stick around for a couple of thoughts in the big one. And I've also got some bonuses and some prizes and things like that. But we've covered a lot of territory here, and you have awareness, opportunity, information that you didn't have an hour ago. And I'm going to take a few minutes and identify some opportunities for you, guaranteed. But there are some problems, and I'm going to take a few minutes and identify what those are too. First, there's the way that our brain works, right? It doesn't work very well when you think about it. 48 hours from now, you're not going to remember most of what Thomas said today or what I said today. And if you think hard about it, you will probably even get confused about what the points are. You might go back to your notes. 72 hours from now, you might remember something, but not much of it. And 5 days from now, you're not going to remember being here. It's like, what did I do? That happens to me all the time. Our minds are like sieves, right? Everything sifts through them. And in the top, out the bottom, new information can only be accepted, understood, and used through repetition and immersion. This is why I preach repetition for learning, and I preach immersion. Immersion is where you just jump in and you just get consumed. Think about this. If you buy a new house or you move into a new apartment or something, statistically, it takes 21 nights in a new home before your hand automatically will flip the right switch. Now, we just remodeled our bathroom, and I noticed this morning, I just go in now and I just hit the switch. But for weeks, it seems like I was like hitting the wrong switch and hitting the wrong lights. And so this was very true for me. So that is problem number one. It's our memory. And if you made some notes like a madman or a madwoman here, chances are those notes are going to end up in the same place that all your other notes end up, and you'll never look at them. And they'll be in a box or a drawer in the basement, and you won't see them again. Secondly, there's the trouble with ideas and information that's not enough. That's the failure of even great sessions like this one. Ideas and information without application, without practice, without implementation only create frustration and have little value. So you need tools. Information about farming is useless without a tractor. Thomas grew up on a farm. He can tell you that. At the end of the day, from our time together right now, with new ideas, without the tools, you don't have anything. I don't want to waste your time, but I think that we need to try to figure out how do we take this to the next level. So there is good news. We figured this out. We have tools for you to almost instantly get results that will make you better and more successful as a watercolor painter. Whether you're already a watercolor painter, you want to go higher level, push yourself up, or whether you're new and you want to learn it from scratch, I want to send you on your way with what you need about information, repetition, and immersion. But most importantly, I want you to leave with a toolkit that's going to change the way that you paint forever, forever. And I'm going to guarantee it, by the way. It's not just your satisfaction with it, but results from it. I want you to leave knowing I am going to be a better painter, and it's guaranteed I'm going to be a better painter. So let me quickly tell you about my guarantee, then the resources and the tools you need. I'm going to guarantee that what I'm offering is going to transform you as a painter dramatically and will impact the rest of your painting career, whether you have a lot of time or a little time. And it'll do it for very little money invested. In fact, probably about as much as your monthly cable bill, right? I realize that I can do all these things we learned today and still not make progress. So I want to make sure that I give you guidance and help and discipline. I need somebody to hand me a little pill and say, here, take this. You'll be a better painter now. But there is no little pill. That's what we're thinking, right? But most of us are struggling, and it's unnecessary to struggle. We all know we can be better no matter how good we think we are. As we studied along, learning takes place, we realized that the best one thing we can do is to create something that's never been done before in the history of art. So we did something so powerful that it would change the art world forever by making tens of thousands of people better artists. And we're doing it, and it's happening. We've already proven lots of things we normally do don't work. So that's why we never seem to get the growth we need. Passion and determination isn't enough. We're driven to help you get better as an artist. Out of all the people who publish art magazines, we're the only one who is actually owned by an artist, as far as I know, anyway. So we're not a big corporation whose big concern is their stock value or their quarterly earnings, something like that. We're part of this community. You guys are my friends. You're my community. I have to survive here, and I can't risk my credibility. And I can't become some evil corporation just trying to take everybody's money and not giving anything in return. I got to live in this community. So I've been with you for the last 2 decades. Many of you are new. You're just learning about us today. And I, with Plein Air Magazine, Fine Art Connoisseur, excuse me, and the other things that we do. But I'm here to devote the rest of my time to helping artists grow. And that's what this is about. We're rooted in your growth for fellow artists. So I want to make you the artist you want to be. I want you to be able to look at any painting from any painter and go, I can do that. I know how to do that. I might not want to do that, but I can do it. I want you to live your dream, whether it's the travel we talked about, or making some extra money, or making a lot of money, or extra retirement income, or college income. Maybe you want to make a big living, have the big studio, whatever your dreams are. I want to help you live those dreams. So I know you can have these things. I've taught lots of artists to have them. I've taught lots of artists how to paint. I know that it starts in your head and in your heart. So do you want them badly enough to commit to a lifetime of learning? Or are you happy where you are? You've got to answer that question. I can't answer it for you. There's nothing wrong with either of those, but I want to be the best I can be. I want to push myself a little harder. Because I don't want to be bored. I don't want to just paint the same things all the time. I always want to push myself. That's why you see artists that paint their whole lives change dramatically throughout their lives. But you can't easily get there on your own. When an artist talks about being self-taught as a badge of courage, I think they could get further if they would study under other artists and stand on the shoulders of greats who have been there and learn the lessons that they're passing on, rather than spending decades trying to figure those things out for yourself. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes I'll watch a demo from somebody and the light will go off and I'll go, I never thought of that. I could have done this 1,000 years and I never would have thought of that. So what I want to talk to you about is Watercolor Live. It's the world's largest online art conference. It's coming up in January. And it is the answer to the age-old problem about rapid growth. I know it's an answer to your growth problems because I've watched thousands of people attend and be transformed. Just last week at Realism Live, I watched all these people being transformed and watching their befores and their afters, and it was pretty incredible. This is a 3-day conference. It features 25 of the finest living artists alive today, including some of the greatest watercolor masters alive, including Thomas, who you've just met, including Alvaro Castanet, who you will meet. This conference is the whole picture. You learn portraits, figures, landscapes, still life, flowers, and pretty much anything. Different styles, different approaches. Some are tighter, some are looser, some are grayer, some are more colorful. You get to pick, and you get to learn all those techniques so that you can go, I see something I want to do. I now know how to do that. So we designed this event because we were tired of watching people miss their dreams, tired of seeing them struggle. This event will train your brain. You'll be able to paint and draw the things that you never thought possible. You'll paint with confidence, and you will lose the doubt. That doubt gets in our way. And that then opens more doors to buyers, galleries, shows, collectors, whatever, income. So some of the instructors you're going to be seeing don't even teach anymore, and some are very hard to get to. Or you'd pay a lot of money for their workshops. They're in high demand and the top of their game. This is rare air. These are the true masters. There's no way to put true value on your education and the value of getting where you want to be 5 or 10 or 20 years sooner than you otherwise would be. It would be thousands of dollars to do that. So today I'm going to give you a price that's far lower than you can possibly normally get. And I'm going to give you a bunch of bonuses today. Now, these are prices that are just for you because you're watching this. If you were to go to the website, they're going to be higher prices right now. So like I said, this event is about the cost of a dinner out with another couple, and you could pay double for just a single workshop. So this is the best investment you can make in yourself and your future. So much so that I'm offering you my guarantee. If you attend and it's not for you for any reason, you can watch the full first day. And if it's not for you and you don't feel like you're getting anything out of it, in fact, you don't feel like you didn't recoup your initial investment for the entire event in the first day, then you let us know by the end of the first day and we'll refund 100% of your money. And after watching the replays and practicing things over and over again, if you still don't feel like you've made a monumental change in your work and you're not not making amazing family and friends with your improved painting ability, let me know. I'll still refund your money. Since COVID, there are a ton of things out there. Every artist and their mother's teaching online. That's good. Some are good, some are not, but you can be sure you're getting someone who will not mess you up here. This is vetted by Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air Magazine and our experts. We bring you only the best instructors. We know that these are people who know how to teach. They're not just good painters. And you can do classes from anybody online, and you should. And you can watch free classes on YouTube, and you should. And you can take mentoring programs, or you can attend live workshops. All of these are great options for you, but there isn't anything like Watercolor Live. Not at all. This is the only full immersion 4-day event in the world featuring top artists. And we have attendees from all over the world. Thousands of people attend these things. You're going to get people you would never get access to. So Harvard says immersion is the fastest way to learn and retain, because you're getting things, you're jumping in. You're just taking 3 days and it's being thrown at you over and over and again. And then at the end, you're going to come out and you're going to find that you're going to be painting 3 months or 6 months from now, and you're going to have a problem and you don't know how to solve that problem. And all of a sudden, a little bell's going to go off in your head and you're going to go, ding, I remember that from Realism Live, and I mean from Watercolor Live, and you're going to be able to do it. So when you watch and you interact for 4 days doing nothing else, it's going to have a massive impact on you. Now, we talked about the importance of immersion and repetition. You're going to get reinforcement of concepts, and they're going to sink in. You're going to learn things you didn't know you needed to know, and things that you think you knew everything you didn't know. So, and you can get up to a year replay, so you can go back, even if you can't attend when it's live. So when you paint along and you're cementing concepts, nothing out there is going to come as close to this kind of immersion and training, this kind of personal transformation. Nothing. So before I show you the deals here in the faculty, I just want you to know that I'm going to give you a special price today because you attended this event with Thomas. And I've got a ton of bonuses at the end, a lot of bonuses. In fact, and I've got stuff to give away. In fact, I said to the team, let's give away more than we normally do. Let's give a better price than we normally do, because people deserve it. So other thing is inflation has crushed us all. Inflation has crushed our expenses, and we should be charging $60 more per person for these events. And I said, for this event, for these people, we're not going to add that extra fee in there, even though our expenses have gone up. So let's bring up the slides right now, and we'll see. This is a special attendee price. And so this is for event attendees over. So first off, we have Essential Techniques Day. This is separate from the main event. It's Tuesday, the 21st. It's one full day of essential techniques and refreshers. It's 7 days of replay access. It's a private Watercolor Live Facebook community, live breakout sessions, and a paint along during the cocktail hour. And the full retail price of this one day is $297. But the current price on the website is $197. But your price today, $0. I'm going to give it to you for free. Here's why. Because we have 3 ticket options, and you can pick general or premier or VIP, and they each have different features. General has 7 days, premier has 60 days replay, VIP has a year replay. Plus, there's all kinds of hats and stuff like that. So premiers get all this extra stuff and the extra replays. And that is if you sign up by Sunday. Now, you can still get Premier, but you can't get all the extra goodies. If you're VIP, you get a ton of extra goodies. We get our materials people to give us samples. We've got all kinds of bags and hats and all kinds of other things, which is kind of fun. Pretty good value. So the price for you guys, general is normally $347, $447 for Premier and VIP. I mean, it's not normally, that's what you're getting today. So you're getting a huge discount. And I'm going to give you these bonuses if you sign up in the next hour. Get this. Mario Robinson, his watercolor live demo, that's worth $100. Chin Chung Wei, his watercolor demo worth $100. Susan Blackwood's watercolor demo, Jason Chow, Brenda Swenson, Tim Oliver, Richard Sneary, Michelle Usabelli, and Joseph Sabukvich. You're getting all of that $1,100 worth of extra value, and you get the guarantee. Patricia says, Watercolor Live exceeded all my expectations, even though I'm not a watercolor artist. I enrolled. Lisa says, this was the best investment I could have made in my art. And Michelle says it was worth every penny and more. I almost didn't sign up. So much information and more. Everyone is lifting each other up. There's lots of payment options, credit cards, Venmo, PayPal, and that's Watercolor Live. And I don't know where the faculty ended up on this. I'm not sure how that disappeared, but I'm going to see if I can get the faculty up real quick for you. And I think what happened is the slides got skipped. Okay, so here we go. Harsh from London is going to be here. Harsha Graywall, that's going to be really incredible. I'm not going to go into all the names, but I'm going to show them to you because everybody's got different styles, different approaches, and they're from different places around the world. And so you can see how you're going to be informed on how you can be loose or tight. Alvaro is one of the best in the world. Thomas is one of the best in the world. Frank Aber, of course, and Kelly. Angela, if you want to get really loose. Sean, Z, Janine, Catherine, Kim, Kathleen, Georgia, Tim, Emily, and Shelley, and so many more, including Thomas W. Schaller and David Stickle and Sandra and Sebastian. That's Watercolor Live, and that's January 22 through 24. So if you'll just put me back on screen for a second. What I just want to say is that we work really hard at putting these together. It takes us about 30 people full-time for a year to put these things on. We were going to give them up. We were going to stop them. We did them because we were going to be bankrupt. We were going to be out of business when COVID hit. We came up with this idea because we needed something because everybody had canceled everything else we were doing. And we weren't sure we were going to survive. And then we came up with these ideas and we did them, and we had thousands of people attended. Thousands of people attended. And then, you know, when COVID kind of started phasing out, we thought, okay, well, we're going to end it. We're going to go back to just doing live conferences. And so I made a comment about that on my show one day on Art School Live. And people said, no, don't end it. You know, I can't come to live events. I've got a husband I'm taking care of, or I've got a kid I'm taking care of, or I've got a handicapped child, or I've got a job, or I've got kids in school. I can't do this, but I can do it online. And so we decided to keep it. And so the pact we made with ourselves is we will continue to do them if you guys continue to show up. Now, there are already hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that are already signed up for Watercolor Live. A lot of them are paying a higher price than what you paid here today that we're giving you. There's no one who gets a lower price except the people when they attend live on the event itself. And that's a little bit lower, but we want to reward them for being there. So this is our second lowest price for you on this special event with Thomas today. So let's go ahead. We're going to put something on the screen that just shows you how you can register. And if you sign up in the next 1 hour, then you get all those bonuses. Those bonuses for next 1 hour. Otherwise, you've got till Sunday at midnight, I believe. I'll check with Carrie on that. But go ahead and get it because of the bonuses, and you can get money back at any time up until a week before the conference. And so if you decide you have to cancel, you get your money back, and that way you preserve the deal and you get the bonuses, and you're going to want to come. It's going to be great. Everybody's going to be talking about it, and everybody's going to be growing from it. So I'm going to put a little music on right now. Carrie's got.
Yes, before we do that, I wanted to answer a couple of questions that are popping up in the chat. If you've already signed up for Watercolor Live, you will still get all of these bonuses that That's, you know, you're grandfathered in, so you don't have to worry about that. If you have any questions about pricing or payments that you've made, reach out to help@streamlinepublishing.com, and I'll put that in the chat. And you can ask them any questions. And then we've got the link there on the screen. So we
And
can
when does it expire? Is it the
offer
bonuses expire in 1 hour, but when does the when does the special price expire?
the offer expires tomorrow at midnight.
Oh, tomorrow at midnight. Okay. All right.
Yes.
All right, good. So let's put a little music on. I'm just going to give you a minute or so to go ahead and do this, and then Thomas is going to come back and answer question number 10. So go ahead and I'm changing the music. Not hard to put a credit card in when you've got all that crazy music. All right, here we're back. So here's what we're going to do is we won't start the clock for the 1 hour for the bonuses until we're done with this broadcast with Thomas. I saw a lot of people signing up from a lot of different places around the world. Thank you for that. I see people watching from all over the world. It's really cool that we can be together as a big artist family. One of the best parts about Watercolor Live, I was just on Realism Live last week, and we had people watching from 20 different countries, and a lot of them stayed up in the middle of the night or early in the morning for themselves and wanted to be participating live, because you get these breakout rooms and you're meeting friends, and people are like, hey, I met somebody, I'm just getting ready to go to Ireland, and now I have somebody I can go paint with. I think that's so cool. So we will give you another chance and another link, and then if you sign up in the next hour, you get the bonuses, but you've got till tomorrow night at midnight. If you want to sign up, we're going to send out another link, and we'll send out a link to this event. Let's get back to Thomas. Thomas, you back?
I'm here.
All right. Did you finish your drawing?
Almost, yeah.
Okay. So let's bring up slide number 10, because I think this was important. Remember what it was like when you were a kid, the joy that you had. Let's talk about that.
Oh, I'm happy to. Very briefly, though, first, I just want to say thank you to Eric and Streamline and everybody, my Streamline family, for making this happen, sure, for me, but for all they do for all of us in the creative community. It's a very big deal. So thank you. Thank you guys so much.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you. You know, when you and I first got into this, there wasn't much out there,
There was nothing.
you know, and there certainly was nothing like Watercolor Live.
Sure.
And
And you made that happen. Again, it's been great for me, but I don't just mean me, but it's the community of all of us artists, whether we're in watercolor or not. But Watercolor Live in particular is a very big deal. So yeah, I hope all of you guys can look into it. It's
thank
worth.
you. You know, one of the, I'll just make a personal observation if I could, and that is that, you know, sometimes faculty members come on and they watch, and the faculty is there answering questions. A lot of them pre-record, and that way they can answer questions while they're on, and people get a chance to get Q&A with you and with others. But what's interesting, I noticed about you is, in spite of you could just come on for your 50 minutes when you're there the whole time. You're answering questions, you're talking to people, you're watching the other demos, and I think that is so cool that you're not there just to do your thing, but you're there to learn.
I am there to learn, and I think yeah, and it relates to this last question. This sense of creative play, just not a lot of judgment, just a lot of experimentation and play, looking at what you can do with your creativity. So yes, being inspired by what others do and listening to them and seeing how they react and then taking questions is a very big deal for me because yeah, I'm
Well,
always.
that childlike wonder is so important. And you know, when you think about it, I was at the event last week, and some of the art materials people had sent some samples in, and I was getting to play with new stuff. You know, there's new materials, and it's so much fun. And I think about it, you know, we as artists, we still get to play.
We do.
And other people, you know, they take their lives very seriously, and I'm sure they find their ways to play, but you know, we get to do it a lot. And it's just so much fun to, I mean, last night I told you I was doing a painting. I pulled out a sheet of copper and I decided I wonder if I could do an acrylic painting on a sheet of copper. I'd never tried it before. I've done it with oil, and it was so much fun because I could put certain colors on and they would glow as the light reflected in them. That was just like got me all excited.
Yeah, for me, I think a few years ago, I hit this sort of bump in the road where I was, like I was saying earlier, I was being self-critical, but I found more criticism than pats on the back. I found my work starting to look a little repetitive, clunky, pretentious, maybe, and I couldn't figure out why. So I just sat quietly with myself for a while and realized you've lost the thread a little bit, man. You know, when I was a kid, all I did was draw. When I was happy, when I was sad, when I was upset, when I was anxious, my reaction to my world, to my emotional state, was always to grab my pencils and paintbrushes and draw or paint something. So just reminding myself of that just brought me back. It helped really bring me back to that state of just creative play, experimentation, and just remembering how much fun this is. It's such a privilege to be able to do with your life what you most enjoy. So I'm not unaware of that.
You know, and when you play with others, they play differently.
Yes,
And
they
so
do.
you know, when you get to go to something and watch what they do, your eyes get open to new things. I think that's cool. Hey, Thomas, I want to thank you for doing this today. I know you've got a hard deadline tonight. You want to tell us about what's going on tonight?
Oh, well, my life changed so much since I moved back to New York, all mostly all for the better. But I have a new gallery here in the city, Gallery 71, and they're having a little show for me this month. And tonight I have an artist talk at the gallery. And yeah, looking forward to that. So many avenues, windows, and doors open if you just put your head up and look around. So yeah, I'm thrilled. It's going to be a
For
good night.
those of you who are watching from the New York metropolitan area, I assume do they have to, is that open to the public?
It's open to the public. It's the northwest corner of 71st and Lexington, and I'll be there 6 o'clock Eastern.
All right. I wish I could be there.
Me too. It'll
I'll
be
be
fun.
there in spirit. Well,
I'll raise the glass.
hopefully you and I will get a chance to go painting together this summer.
I
And
hope so. Yeah, I'm going to make
you're
that.
you're like the busiest guy I know. You're busier than I am,
I don't think so, but
and your hair's not even gray.
uh, yeah, well, still,
Okay, well, do you have any final words that you want to leave people with?
just don't forget to breathe and remember how much fun this really is. I know it's a lot of work. And when I say play, I don't mean to dismiss it. I think there's a way to take what you do very seriously, but to truly enjoy every step of the way, including the mistakes. It's all part. So I want to thank you all though for your time. All we've got in this world is a little bit of time. So thank you for spending it with us, with me, and stay in touch. For better or worse, I'm online all the time. So thank
And
you.
Before,
and
before you go,
Thomas, I appreciate your friendship. Thank you so much.
I love you guys. I love you, Eric. Carrie, too. Thank you so much for all you do.
you are welcome. And before you go, we do have a few questions if you've got a couple more minutes to answer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So when you were talking about authenticity of self and, finding who you are as an artist, someone asked, how do you learn from others, techniques, things like that, and still be true to your own authenticity?
Well, I don't think there's a one size fits all answer. Most people in my classes want to learn how to loosen up, for example. They want to learn how to paint more loosely, which I understand. But every now and again, I'll meet somebody who wants to learn how to get tighter and more detailed. So I'm just saying there are two sides to every coin. There are painters today in watercolor who work in a very explicit, detailed, controlled way and do amazing work. There are others who just start painting on a blank sheet of paper and do amazing work that's quite different. So it's not much of an answer to say that different techniques resonate with us. I think just being honest with yourself about what your path should be, what feels right, rather than what somebody is teaching you to do, is the way to go. Does this feel good? Good. Take another step. Does it still feel good? Sure. Go farther. Go farther and don't be afraid. Is the best advice I can give you.
I love that. That's great. Okay, so next question is, when you play, are you worried about wasting good art materials, or does that not matter to you?
I can't say it doesn't matter. These things are not cheap. But no, I don't stress it. No, it's just a piece of paper. Paper's expensive, but you can buy very cheap paper to play on, and scrap paper, the backs of paper, anything you can find, pieces of cardboard I've done drawings on. Yeah, I don't worry about it. I urge you as much as you're able to not stress it.
That's good. That's really good advice, because I definitely feel that way sometimes.
Yeah.
So someone asked, what are your thoughts on watercolor canvases? And I actually didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, it is a thing. I've tried them once. I think depending on how you paint, they can be really promising. How I paint, they're not quite a fit for me. I'm so dependent on the texture of the cotton-based watercolor paper to provide the quality of the washes I love and the transparency and translucency. That doesn't really fit for me, but it's not a rejection of it. If it works for you, then absolutely, you should explore it.
That's great. Okay, so one last question for you is, do you still have failed paintings at this stage in your career?
Yes. I think I almost could say I have nothing but failed paintings. Some just fail more obviously than others. It's rare I'll ever do a painting where I go, oh man, you nailed it. I don't do that. There's always something that didn't work or something I could definitely improve on in the next go around. That said, I have some that are truly terrible, and that's okay. It's all part of the journey.
I
It's,
think that's a really important question. Whoever asked it, congratulations, because
it's a good one.
it's very freeing to know that someone with your background, your history, your level of painting still has botched paintings. One of the
Oh,
most memorable days of my life was I was on the phone with Richard Schmid, and he was talking to me about how he just botched this painting. I said, you've been painting for like 70 years and you're like the best of the best, and you still botch paintings? He says, oh yeah, I botch them. I try to botch fewer of them, but I still botch them. And he said, nobody's going to get 100%. And I thought, that was nice, because I just assumed that people like you always nail it.
no, I think it comes a bit down to an ego thing. I know we're running low on time, but very briefly, an anecdote. I have a large family of siblings, a lot of sisters. One sister in the medical field, I was home visiting and complaining that I had to fly from Rome to Paris or something for some exhibition. And she, as a sister would, said, "Oh, shut up, Tom. You draw pictures for a living." And yeah, she said, I'm a nurse in the emergency room. She says, if you do a bad painting, no one's going to die. And I was offended, I'll admit. But I got over it pretty quickly because I realized, oh, she's right. And it was a very liberating, useful thing for me to accept that I take what I do very seriously. But if I do a bad painting, what's the big deal? No one's going to die on the operating table. I'll just do another one and try to do better next time. So I'm just saying, give yourself a break, move on. It's making mistakes is all part of learning. It's great.
I'm seeing a Christmas present for your sister. It's an emergency room, and doctors working on a patient, and you're standing there painting a picture of it. And then you put a caption, if I paint a bad painting, no one dies. That'd be a good Christmas present.
Yeah, it's a little dark, but wow, that message was very helpful for me.
Yeah. Well, congratulations and thank you again. And thank you for your time today, and good luck, and break a leg tonight on your big exhibition. And the name
Thank
of the gallery again?
It's Gallery 71 on Lexington
71.
here in New York City. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Streamline. Thank you, Carrie. And again, thank you, everybody who watched. I really do appreciate it.
Awesome.
All
Thanks
right.
again. Bye-bye. Well, that was really wonderful.
Yeah, it was great. A lot
So
of great.
Carrie, let's just reiterate for people what's going on. As soon as we stop this broadcast, we're going to start the clock, and that clock is 1 hour. And if you register within that 1 hour, you get all those $1,100 worth of bonuses.
Yes.
Watercolor Live is in January. There's 3 days plus the Essentials Day. If you sign up at the special price we gave you, the discount, which is just for you guys, we are throwing in Essentials Day, and then you don't have to pay for that. And there are 3 levels, so you can do a week of replays, you can do 60 days of replays, you can do a year of replays.
Mhm.
If you get the premier level, which is the most popular, you get some other stuff, and then if you get the VIP level, you get a ton of other stuff, and a year of replays. And what people find is that usually they need at least 60 days. But what we recommend is you just you do what you need to do, but you will have an opportunity. If you run out, you can always extend. But the idea being that we want you to practice, we want you to study it, watch it live, take some notes, watch it again, do some sketches or some painting, and it'll help you a lot. I think and remember, we have a guarantee. If you watch the first day and you don't feel like you got your money's worth for the entire conference out of that first day, let us know by the end of the day. We'll refund your money, because I have to live in this world, and if I get a reputation of stiffing people over something like that, it's over for me. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to risk that. And we have selected the faculty based on the people that we know are among the best of the best. And we never have the same faculty 2 years in a row. So if you're thinking, well, I'll go next year, not the same faculty is going to be on next year. We might have a repeat of somebody, but typically not. So go ahead and get signed up. There should be something on your screen right now, and we'll just keep that up there. And we'll keep the broadcast going for a few minutes after we sign off, just so that the links are there so you can see them. And we've seen people all over the world signing up already, so that's really cool, and it's fun to see the community of artists come together, because we're just one big happy family who like to play. And
Yeah.
I just want to say one other thing. I'm not a watercolorist. I'm an oil painter, and I felt because of doing watercolor live, I felt the need to become a watercolorist. And I did some watercolor when I was a kid, but all of a sudden, by going to Watercolor Live now for 5 years, I can paint a really good watercolor. And now I don't have to take my oil paints with me everywhere. I've gotten to the point where, now I'm painting pastel, I'm painting watercolor, and one thing informs the other. And so you'll notice a lot of people, like Thomas had that beautiful acrylic that he did behind him. He's experimenting with other things. You don't have to stay in a box. If you're a watercolorist, you can get better at watercolor. If you're not a watercolorist, you can learn it. And the nice thing is, you've got a sketch pad and some watercolors. I've got a little thing that I carry. It's a little tiny one. It's in my briefcase at all times when I'm on airplanes or I'm in hotel rooms. No matter where I am, I've got my watercolors, and I'm painting in watercolor because I prefer to do that than sitting up at night watching television, or going to a bar or something. And so this is a very versatile thing that you can do some incredible things with. And the faculty was chosen based on versatility as well as competence, right? So we have people who paint tightly, who can teach you some very in-depth, detailed, tight painting. We have people who paint loosely, and everything in between, portraits, figures, etc. So there's a whole lot of all that. Anyway, we hope you'll come. If not, we hope you got a lot out of today anyway, because the goal is to serve you and do good things for you. Any final thoughts, Carrie?
Yes, I want to give some things away.
Oh, I forgot. Oh, we've got the convention to give away too.
Got a lot
Okay,
of
what all are we giving away?
Well, so the first thing I wanted to do is upgrade some people who purchased Watercolor Live today. So we are going to pick someone who signed up for a general ticket, and we are upgrading them to Premier. And that person is Herman. I'm going to say your last name wrong. Jason Folk from New York, New York. Herman, you are now a Premier ticket owner for Watercolor Live. Congratulations.
Herman, you're in New York. You better go to that reception tonight. Just saying.
Yes. And then we also chose someone to upgrade to VIP, and that person is Cheryl Hockett from Paso Robles, California. So congratulations, Cheryl. You now have VIP access to Watercolor Live, and you're going to get some swag delivered to your door.
So what's the deal on VIP and Premier and the stuff that is Sunday is the deadline to sign up if they want to get the swag? Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
They can still sign up afterwards and get the replays, but they just don't get the bag of swag.
Correct. This is all just to make sure you get the swag in time for the event. So
yeah, it's good swag, by the way. It changes every time.
It does. I love it. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to give away is Thomas did a watercolor masterclass with us a few years ago. It's a 4-day workshop that he did. It's 15 hours of content. And so type workshop in the chat, and we're going to pick someone to win that.
So
and then you can
I just want to tell people about this. We brought Thomas in. We had a live audience, and so you get a chance to see him working with other people and critiquing their paintings and stuff as well. But he went through kind of start to finish the whole process and did several paintings in it. And it's really, really good product, and it should sell for, a whole lot more money than it does, but it's spectacular. So put the words workshop in the chat, and then we'll grab. How many of those are we giving away?
Just one.
Oh, let's give away 2.
Okay. It is a $500 value, so it's really awesome. So the first one is going to be John Williamson. So John, congratulations. And if I can get the chat to slow down.
I'll tell you what, Carrie.
What?
I don't know if there's any way to do this with the chat, but if there's anybody outside of the United States, that we need a way for them to say, So say who they are so we can grab somebody outside of the United States.
So if you are outside the United States, type international, and that will be our next one. So
INT will work.
John Williamson, you are our first winner for Schaller for the masterclass. And then we are going to pick one more as soon as my feed updates, because oh my goodness.
Okay, if you're outside of the country and type international, there's so many just zipping by. It's hard.
I know it's going so fast I can't even read it. I've even tried to scroll backward and I can't read it. Okay, everybody stop. Brenda, nope, went by too fast. This is impossible to read.
A lot of people internationally watching, huh?
I know. It goes way too fast.
Well, keep typing it in there. Keep typing international.
No, stop typing. Stop typing altogether. So I can read it. Slavash Karishny. Slavash. I can't see your last name, but it's Slavash or Salvash.
I wonder where they're from. Slavash, say where you're from.
Slavash Krashny Calvini. So Salvash Kalani or Calvani, you are the proud owner of Thomas Schaller's Masterclass Workshop.
And you can watch that online. You don't have to get a DVD.
Yes.
Most people buy online. And so how do we make sure that we connect with the people who have won something?
So my email's on the screen, winner@streamlinepublishing.com. So John Williamson and Salvash Calvani, you guys can email us and we will make sure we get you that.
Okay. All right. And then now the big prize, right? You have any other prizes?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. What's the big prize?
The big prize is a ticket to the plein air convention in May. It's coming up May 19th through the 23rd. And this is our watercolor faculty so far.
Well, who are they? Let's just go through them. Frank Aber, Amit Kapoor, Georgia Mansur, Robert Masla, Steve Mitchell, Richard Sneary, Barbara Tapp. Barbara's watching now from Australia. Richie Vios, he's watching now. Lisa Wang, and Joseph Zabukvich is going to be doing the pre-convention workshop, and he's going to be at the convention. And so the winner gets the plein air convention and the pre-convention workshop with Joseph.
Yes.
So what do we say? I want to go to PACE.
I was just going to say put PACE in the chat.
PACE. Okay. PACE. Put PACE in the chat. And don't put it there if you can't come.
Yes. And if you are already signed up, this means you're bringing a friend.
Yeah.
Okay. So the winner is, oh my goodness. Try to get us to slow down and holy cow. These are going even faster. Linda Howe. Linda Howe, you are going to PACE.
Linda Howe, congratulations.
Congratulations. Yay, Linda.
So last year we had Amit Kapoor. I think Amit is coming this year too.
Mm-hmm.
And we had Amit Kapoor, and we had so many more watercolors than ever that this year we're making it's our second largest room. We're getting a mega room for watercolor because there's so many watercolor people coming. And a lot of people do watercolor plein air. And of course, the plein air convention, we go outdoors and paint. We have 5 stages. We have about 80 instructors. We have people that work with you in the field when we go out and paint. We have pre-convention workshops with Joseph Zabukvich, Scott Christensen, and we have a basics of plein air course for people who are brand new baby plein air painters. And so all of those are options at pleinairconvention.com. Okay, Carrie, you and the entire Streamline team have worked very hard on this and putting this together. Thank you to you, and thank you to the entire team.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Okay, are we done?
Unless there's more you want to talk about.
Oh, yeah, you know me. I'll keep talking. That's okay. So let me just say some final things. I can't speak for you, but I can only tell you how I am. And I'm happiest when I'm painting, and I'm happiest when I'm painting well. And, you know, every couple of years, I get to a point where I don't think I'm painting well. I get to this wall where I'm frustrated because as we grow, we get to that wall. And when you start getting frustrated and you start not being happy with your work, please understand that that's about the time you're about to make a breakthrough, because it's the realization that I can get better, or I can do better. It's that realization that pushes you to the next level. So keep pushing through. Whether or not you come to Watercolor Live, we'd love you to keep pushing through and make it about a lifetime of learning. There's some research studies I recently saw on somewhere, Instagram probably, and it talked about how people are happiest when they're learning, when they're growing. And I think that that's really true for me. I can't speak for anybody else, but I think the idea is really focus on growth. The other thing that I want to say to you is find a community. You know, we have built a wonderful community of artists. We get together at our conventions, we get together at our retreats, we get together online. We do a lot of different things, and there's more things we're going to do, like we're doing this marketing thing coming up. And you will grow from a community. Barbara Tapp is watching. Barbara came to Fall Color Week one time, and we became really great friends. And as a result, she ended up on the faculty at the plein air convention and ended up doing a video with us and some other things. And but the best thing is that she has 2 or 3 friends that became lifetime friends that she met at one of these retreats. And so you need a community around you. You need other artists around you. And if you don't have any in your community, try to figure out a way to find some, put up something at the art store looking for people, because if you find community, they're going to help you assimilate to painting and drawing, and you're going to be able to paint together and feel safe together, and you're going to grow together, and you're going to encourage each other and move to the next level. This is what this is all about. We started all of this because I was frustrated as a painter. I had bad experiences, and you know what? I almost gave up, and I was serious about giving up, but I just couldn't let go. I had 2 friends of mine, Ralph and Calla. I won't say their last name. They're both, I'm not sure if both of them are gone now. One of them's gone now. And Ralph and Calla, I encouraged them to take an art lesson, and I sent them to the same guy that was teaching me. And they were they went to one lesson, and they were so confused, and they were so frustrated that they didn't continue on. And I watched other people that came to class one time and then they didn't go back. And you've got to have a little bit of gumption. You got to be willing to persist through this stuff, because it's not going to be easy. But the goal here, our goal is to find ways to help you make it through, because I set a goal a few years ago. I said, I'm going to teach 1 million people to paint. And everybody said, how are you going to do that? I said, I don't know, but I'm going to teach 1 million people to paint. And because I learned to paint, and by learning to paint, it changed my life forever. I saw things. I'm driving down the road. My wife's like, what are you looking at? I said, look at that color, and so it changes your life, and it makes you happier. It makes you more fulfilled. And if you are somebody who's watching that hasn't learned to paint yet, take it up, try it. Whether you do it with us, you do it with somebody else, we don't care where you do it. You just need to do it. We're trying to provide you platforms to be able to do it. And you know what? We hit that million, and then we hit 16 billion. Actually, we're almost at 17 million people that we've taught to paint. And I mean, listen, I'm just a kid from Indiana. I never thought I'd ever stand in front of 16 or 17 million people. I mean, how is that even possible? The magic of the internet, right? And so we're so thankful for you guys, for being here, for taking your time, for tuning in to Thomas. And we are grateful for you. And I'm grateful for my team. These people work really hard to make this work. But thank you for being here today. And we'll start that clock now. Take care. Bye-bye.